Witam, z tej strony Myos w kolejnym odcinku Things Wright Ace Attorney. Może dzisiaj zakończymy ten trzeci dzień śledztwa? Ty masz? Co masz? Pochwal się, to Kusaka. Ja mam, ja też mam i ja też mam. Ja bym chciał mieć też.
I see. So the chief asked Emma to come in for questioning.
It's no use thinking about it. Tomorrow's the final day in court. I'm committed to doing everything I can to defend you, which is why I'm here.
But I've already told you all I can.
What you've told me over these past couple of days is absolutely nothing. Masz mały rambaras, gdyż przyjeżdża siostra z bratem i składają mi meble w ich zakupionym domu. Chodzi ci o to, że masz zamieszanie w domu, o to ci chodzi. Cóż, bywa, że się tak wyrażę. Ode mnie w ostatnim czasie brat się wyprowadzał z domu i też zabierał wszystkie meble ze swojego pokoju, musiał je porozkręcać. Też mu musiałem popomagać. Cóż. Życie. Siostra z mężem, wybacz. No to siostra z bratem. Nawet się nie zorientowałem, co ja powiedziałem. Co ty napisałeś. Okej, nieważne. It's absolutely nothing, not a single useful thing.
Really? I believe I did mention something quite important. Something I told you right at the beginning. I said that I was the one who had stopped Detective Goodman.
You know, I think I finally figured it out. I know who it is that's lurking behind your words.
Mia did a good job mentoring you. I'm rather jealous. It seems Edgeworth was right.
Edgeworth?
Once you're convinced you know something, no one can persuade you otherwise. Thick-headed is the term he used, I believe.
Now was my chance to get her to tell me the rest of the story. Keeping quiet. I have to admit, I was more than a little perplexed at the first. You insisted you did it, yet there was no incriminating evidence. That's when it hit me. It's not that you're unwilling to tell the truth, it's that you're incapable of doing so because of a certain individual.
What an intriguing notion. A certain individual, you say. So you think I'm protecting this person?
Protecting? No, I think afraid of is more like it. If I'm not mistaken, the person in question may have persuaded you to silence.
For argument's sake, Mr. Wright, for whom, may I ask, is this person speaking of? The one I am supposedly frightened of. What is this person's name?
Gaunt! Take that! Well, Miss Sky? Odwróciłaś.
Mr. Wright, you are addressing the chief prosecutor. Do not forget your place.
I take it she's still not ready to spill the beans.
My apologies. Could you please tell me a bit more about what you think you know?
Demon Gaunt. Grand Demon!
We were partners until 2 years ago. I respected him as a detective.
Assuming he is respectable, then tell me something. Why would he try to hide his crimes?
His crimes?
Both you and Edgeworth will be brought before a board of inquiry for what you did. Specifically, hiding and forging evidence.
Of course, there are serious offenses.
Why is it, though, that Chief Gunn's name was never mentioned?
Chief Gant?
Edgeworth didn't know the truth behind the forgery. The only party who could have possibly tampered with the evidence was...
me. I had access because I was second in command of that investigation.
Yes, you, but also one other, Damon Gant.
If you intended to accuse Chief Gant, you'll need more than just words. Show me proof that Chief Gant falsified evidence in that case.
Vaza? I just found this in a safe in the chief's office. This jar piece and this piece of cloth. Do you know what these are? They're pieces of evidence from the SL9 incident. The person concealing evidence was none other than Chief Gant himself. Now tell me, why are you taking all the blame for him? Taking, not talking.
Touché, Mr. Wright. It's as you surmised. I cannot disobey the chief's orders. Even if it means being found guilty for murder.
Why not?
Come now, Mr. Wright. You can't possibly expect me to be able to tell you that. 3 days ago, I had no choice but to cooperate.
In the murder of Detective Goodman?
Or perhaps I should say, follow orders. Yes, that's more accurate than cooperate.
Orders?
Although I can't tell you the details, I can say that I was given an order that day.
I need you to...
I need you to dispose of Bruce Goodman's body. You'll find it inside the trunk of Miles Edgeworth's car.
Już wiemy, że mówił do niej ten cały Gant, nie? As I suspected. Despite that everyone believes, you were not the one who murdered Detective Goodman.
Correct. I was trying to take the body out of Edgeworth's car. The trunk lock was broken, and I discovered that murder weapon while inspecting the body.
The murder weapon? You mean Edgeworth's knife?
Now, when I found the body, it was the knife stuck in it. This was the knife stuck in it.
The knife from SL9 incident. Serial killer Joe Drake's knife.
I couldn't just leave that knife in him, so I took it out and stabbed him with another knife.
Czyli nie było żadnego morderstwa, ona dźgnęła ciało martwego człowieka. That would be Edgeworth's knife.
That's right. Even though he was already dead, my hands were shaking at the thought of stabbing him. That's why I ended up cutting my hand.
And that is the reason for the bandage of your right hand.
Yes, it seems that I got blood on the victim's shoe as well. And then... she saw me just as I plunged the knife in.
Miss Starr, huh? Why did you need to hide Drake's knife so badly?
It took a lot of work to finally close the Drake case 2 years ago. It was over with. I didn't ever want it to be open again. My intent was to prevent that, by whatever means possible.
So you hid Drake's knife?
The weapon used to stab the detective was evidence in the Joe Drake case. If word got out, which it would,
The reporters would have a field day with that. So you wrapped the knife in your scarf and hid it. In Edgeworth's exhaust pipe. Right. Then I called my sister. To tell her what happened and to ask her to hide the knife that was inside my muffler. You asked Emma? I didn't want anyone on the force to know about this. That would explain why Emma is so confident about Lana's innocence. Speaking of phone calls, I had a bad feeling about one of them that day. A bad feeling. The truth is, after I received those orders from Chief Gant, the first thing I did was make a phone call. A phone call to Patrolman Jake Marshall. To Marshall? Why on earth would you call him? The lead investigator for SL9 incident had been murdered. I wanted that fact to be kept hidden, and I needed help. He was the only other person I could trust. Or at least I thought I could trust him at the time. However, it seems that after I spoke to him, he went off on an escapade on his own. Oh, you mean... Not wanting the case to die, he decided to take things into his own hands. Niech zgadnę, oni wszyscy są w to zamieszani, oprócz tej Angel Star. He disguised himself as Detective Gunman and tried to steal the evidence. He had already stolen the ID card, but it seems he still hasn't made up his mind to break into the evidence room. After my phone call, any remaining doubts he had must have been disappeared. So your phone call caused the incident in the evidence room. Psst. Zaś plecy. I'm afraid that's all I can tell you. But Lana... You've earned my respect, Mr. Wright, both as a defense attorney and an investigator. Now please, don't pursue this any further in court tomorrow. Tomorrow's trial, there's only one way to drive off Lana's demons. I've got to get to the bottom of everything. Detective Goodman's real murderer. And one went down in the chief's office 2 years ago. Tak chcę zapisać grę. This is the defendant lobby, alright, but there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if...
Something's been happening behind the scenes.
O, ja myślałem, że to Gant. Edgeworth. Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 7777777 ID number is, that is. Well, I have pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True, not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from the old list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, Wright, and Chief Prosecutor Sky will be found guilty. But she didn't do it. I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Czyli on też ma pewne wątpliwości i też chyba podejrzewa Ganta o coś. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today is the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminiscence about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright? This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gal has on her, it's now. February 25, 10 a.m. District Courtroom number 9. Powitajmy świętego Mikołaja! Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gant?
Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Ain't Aji been back to the pool yet?
Swimming, anyone? No, I've been drowning enough in my walk.
Oh, that's a good one. I don't think I can top that.
If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is this proposal of yours?
Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court.
She wants to do what?
Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. At the end, it should have saved everyone a lot of time and trouble.
What's this all about, defendant?
I just like to make one simple request, and I'll be finished.
Well then, what's your request?
Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial.
Ah?
I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office.
No, Lana! You can't! Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense plea.
In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services.
But Lana!
Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please.
Huh? Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. Our request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. This can't be happening! It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant... I w tym momencie... Objection! One moment, Your Honor. Wiedziałem. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling on this stage would certainly be premature.
Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, hmm?
I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gantz.
What?
Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes? Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes.
Some kind of deal, hmm? Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy.
Huh, I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Who? To whom? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony.
Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue.
I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an ever greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Yep. Very well, the court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gantz?
Worthy? You're alive to regret this. You live to regret this. Mark my words.
Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Edgeworth nas uratował, jakby nie było, po raz kolejny. Oh. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation.
My name is Emma Skye. My occupation, I'm Lena's little sister and I want to be a scientific investigator.
2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Drake of the Joe Drake killings. Is this correct?
Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that though.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. Well, okay then. He sure gave him fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesterday has finally begun. The trip to yesteryear. Aha, nie yesterday, yesteryear. Fajna gra słowna. Is bound to lead to the truth behind the stroll. 2 years ago.
I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neo Marshall rescued me. but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest.
Chwila, ale on został dźgnięty w plecy, nie w klatkę piersiową. Znaczy inaczej, nóż został znaleziony, wbity w jego plecy. It's a good thing you weren't harmed.
I passed out. I don't remember much.
That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Ale myśli, że ty masz dowody. Ufa, to znaczy, że Edgeworth nam ufa pod pewnym względem. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. Dobra, musimy ją przycisnąć na każdym... Chociaż myślę, że już znalazłem. Zobaczmy. Autopsy report. Died from blood loss in under 10 minutes. Weapon found in one was missing tip. Single stab wound piercing heart lung. No w sumie nie ma tu nic na temat tego, że dźgnięcie było od tyłu, ale na zdjęciu, które widzieliśmy gdzieś wcześniej, było pokazane, że on miał nóż wbity w plecy. Tylko teraz musimy to jakoś udowodnić. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct?
Yes, she was second in command under the deputy chief of police Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever.
Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Sky used to be quite the pair. I believe they shared the same office.
That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day too.
The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day.
Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work.
Man came running in and took me hostage. A man?
Yes, Joe Drake. He was a serial killer.
Joe Drake was brought in for questioning on the day of the ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Nie wiem co jest, ale zawsze jak podkładam głos za sędziego, to mi się chce ziewać. Upon fleeing the room, Drake proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky and Gun's office.
There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. That's when I saw him.
Now Marshall rescued me. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day there were two people present during Drake's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh, almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutor award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assumed that would also be why he was the first to run after Drake.
When Drake grabbed me, I thought I was as good as a dead.
And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in.
I don't really remember what happened then, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant.
Can you tell us about that?
Mr. Marshall jumped on Drake, just then the lights went out.
The lights?
It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby.
So the electricity went out.
Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Boż, Jezu. Panie sędzio, powodujesz u mnie ziewanie, nie wiem dlaczego.
Right, but just then lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash and out left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind.
I see.
I told the detective about what I saw then.
The detective?
Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case.
Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim. Hear more. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago.
Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial.
And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw.
Yes, but at the time the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture.
A picture, yes, I think she mentioned that before. I mamy zresztą ten obrazek.
Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough?
Ask about the picture. This picture the witness drew. I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture.
Witness, could you mind if we added this statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost.
Nie, mamy. You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right?
Yes, I wanted to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now, whenever I close my eyes.
That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died, yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken?
But I did throw it, I swear, I'm not just imagining it.
This picture that Emma drew, that reminds me. I guess I should check the evidence again. Well, anyway, let's continue. The scene that imprinted an image in your mind, can you please describe it to us?
The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall.
That must have been a real shock.
Even now, when I close my eyes, I still see it just as clearly.
Tell us, what were you doing at the moment? I believe you testified that Joe Drake was holding you hostage.
When lightning struck and the lights went out, Mr. Marshall jumped on Drake. I was thrown aside and the two began wrestling at each other. I'm pretty sure I was watching them.
Emma doesn't have a reason to lie, but Lana sure does. I need to get Emma to tell me as much about this as she can. Okay, I drew a picture. Pokaż mi w takim razie ten obrazek. Muzyka się zatrzymała. Mr. Edgeworth. This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence? Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy! All I'm saying is that as a prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handled such a picture. That may well be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold!
This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident.
Please turn it over, Your Honor.
Turn it over? Turn it... Oh! What's this?
Yes, what is that?
Hey, that's it. That's the picture I drew.
Indeed, two men appear to be wrestling here.
What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list.
Huh? These lists, they're different from each other.
What?
It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here, they were torn apart from each other.
So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you. What? What?
Order. But Miss Sky, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list?
Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor.
Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor?
Are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head.
If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list.
Yes, that's quite convincible, Mr. Edgeworth.
It's possible. Let's see. Śmieszne, że jak trzymał tą listę przed sobą, to nie było nic widać z tyłu.
Is something wrong?
Do you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There's indeed something drawn on the back of my list. Nic nie widać, ale okej. It's that thing. Dobra.
That's that thing. The thing that was dancing in the evidence room.
Tolerate this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Evidence list restored and updated in a court record. O, przyjrzyjmy się temu jeszcze raz w takim razie.
Very well, witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago?
Huh? Yes, Your Honor.
What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture. Pokaż mi to. To wcale nie jest ten cały badger, tylko to jest ta cholerna waza, bo ona też ma takie 3 uchwyty wystające. Jak się temu przyjrzymy. Tylko że tu jest ułamany uchwyt. Nie, patrząc na to w ten sposób, to wygląda jak ten cały badger. Gdzie on jest? Ciekawe. Ja stawiam na to, że to była ta waza. Była. Że to jest ta waza.
This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant.
To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image to your mind.
Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw.
Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Drake about to murder prosecutors Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Okay. Did you draw this picture right after the incident?
I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, it was such a state of I was such in a state of shock that I couldn't do anything.
During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Gant and Lana Skye. 2 or 3 days later, the memory should still have been fresh in her mind.
Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black?
The flash of lightning was so bright I could see the shadows. So at the time you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue.
No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor.
You were knocked to the floor.
Drake had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed.
Poor Emma. I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed? I must have fainted. You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place?
No, I'm sorry.
The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further? Hey, what? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here.
Anyway, this picture shows exactly what I saw in an instant.
That's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind. And yet, there's clearly a contradiction here. Co takiego? O, idziemy od początku, tak? Co takiego jest? Okej, czyli to jest jej ostatnie zdanie. Co takiego jest niezgadzającego się w tym zdjęciu? Powinno tam być okno albo cokolwiek, no ale... Nic, zrobimy save'a i pokażemy jej te zdjęcie jeszcze raz. No mi się wydaje, że chodzi o, o ten drugi obrazek. Nie, bo muzyka nie zgasła. I must be on the wrong track. Czyli co? On? Nie, też nie. Chwila! Tutaj jest stabbed in the back! Nie zgadza się z raportem autopsji, tak? Tak. What the fuck? Czyli miałem rację. Gdzieś było napisane, że on został dźgnięty w plecy, a nie w klatkę piersiową. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it just like it was yesterday.
Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts autopsy report?
Dobre pytanie. Jak ja mam pokazać, że on go dźgnął od tyłu, a nie od przodu? Nie wiem, nóż? The contradiction of course lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken.
Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright.
But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too.
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Wright was the murderer.
I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. Ała. Ah! 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 God damn it! Ała! Ale się pizdnąłem w palca. Ah! Aż mi kurde mrówki po paznokciu roz... Ała! And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken. Sprawiedliwość rzeczy martwych mnie dopadła. Co? Kurde, ciepło mi jest. Chyba będę musiał zdjąć ten kapelusz albo otworzyć okno.
Oh! What's the meaning of this?
Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there.
That's right. But what does it mean?
The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Redgeworth. There is another explanation. Sprawiedliwość rzeczy martwych jest wtedy, gdy uderzysz się mocno o rzecz martwą, a ona ci odda. Ale ja tego nie zrobiłem specjalnie. Ale dobra, rozumiem. Have you forgotten already about a little something called falsified evidence? You're treading on thin ice, right? All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No? Ah!
Order, order, order. Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted?
Your Honor? Please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of the Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Drake along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Drake fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Drake. It is my belief that somewhere in this story there is a lie.
I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife.
If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. No przecież! To, co zostało usunięte z tej nagrody najlepszego śledczego, czy tam prosecutor, jak jest prosecutor po polsku? Nie prawnik, boże... Prokurator. Nagroda dla najlepszego prokuratora została zmieniona. Nie była już tarczą i mieczem, tylko samą tarczą. A gdzie się podział miecz?
What are the chances of there being two broken knives?
Another broken knife besides Joe Drake's. Could there have been one? There is another one. If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error.
Mr. Wright?
In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. Tylko że nie widziała Joe Drake'a, tylko Damona Ganta ze złamanym mieczem z tej nagrody dla najlepszego prokuratora.
I assume then that you have some information about this other broken knife. If so, please feel free to enlighten us.
The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Myślę, że mam rację, ale zróbmy save'a dla pewności. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. The answer lies in the past, 2 years in the past. Right here, inside this picture. This is a picture of the award ceremony. Ah!
What is it, Mr. Edgeworth?
It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award prosecutor Marshall is holding.
That's a broken knife.
As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Drake's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award.
Order.
Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that way. As a reward, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Drake, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be! Oh? And why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecution Award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean... this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh! Ale to prawdopodobnie jest prawda.
But the prosecutor was the one who she died.
That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Oh!
Wait! I remember now. I remember everything.
Witness?
Mr. Edgeworth,
What is it?
could you show me your evidence list again, please?
His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back.
I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it.
What? You drew that?
That's right. The list wasn't torn in half from the time I drew this picture.
Ale to wcale nie jest ta maskotka, o której wszyscy myślimy. Tylko to jest pewnie ta waza, o której ja myślę.
All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me.
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Sky?
Yes, Your Honor.
First the knife mix-up, now the Blue Badger? Przecież Blue Badger wtedy nie istniał, goddammit, jeszcze się żaden z was nie kapnął, kurde. This should be interesting.
When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then, there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the Blue Badger.
Nie widziałaś niebieskiego Badgera, bo on wtedy nie istniał, goddammit.
He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
This is certainly most unusual.
Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. No właśnie. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago.
Yes, well, the defense may now begin its cross-ex...
Stop, please. Don't pursue this any further.
Lana!
What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair.
But you can't do this. I have already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that?
Chief Prosecutor Sky? We're already gone this far. It's too late to turn back.
Silence. The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant.
It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. Emma's recollection. Okej. Przyciśnijmy ją jeszcze raz wszędzie, ale myślę, że wiem, o co chodzi. Muszę przekonać Emmę, że nie widziała wcale Blue Badgera, bo on wtedy nie miał prawa istnieć, tylko widziała tą cholerną wazę, która została roztrzaskana na kawałki. Czyli moja dedukcja jeszcze nie jest taka zła. Ups. Wróć. When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Drake?
Yes, at least I think it was him.
You think?
I could really see were shadows.
The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office report.
So then you...
Panic and rush toward both of them. Why would you do something so dangerous?
What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall.
She seems convinced that Drake was the one holding the knife. Ale ja myślę, że to było na odwrót. Że to Marshall był... niedaleki, żeby dźgnąć Drake'a, A ona rzuciła w Marszala tą cholerną wazą, ogłuszyła go, przez co Drake zadźgał Marszala. I ona jest winna temu wszystkiemu. God damn it! What a twist! But as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife.
Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that Drake guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've gotta help that other person. I think I've knocked away the man with the knife.
What do you mean, you think?
It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember anything really. What I did, it's all kind of a blur.
Miss Sky was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural.
I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife.
What you did was very brave, young girl. So then what happened next?
Just when there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger.
Are you sure about this?
Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him here.
But it was the chief of detectives who fought up these hideous beasts, and that was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable.
I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I've seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember.
Oh, brother. Just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion.
Tell us, where in the room did you see his dancing?
He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its whining smile and all?
That's right, but I still remember it. It had three creepy horns.
This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh? And I suppose you have an explanation. If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when lightning flashed? Who is this blue badger really? Okej. Myślę, że mam odpowiedź, ale zrobimy save'a. I just might know! The blue badger hadn't even been dreamed up when Emma drew this picture. Yet she's certain she saw this shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on the fateful day, 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room.
Mr. Wright.
In this room, very well, Mr. Wright. What is that the witness saw in this instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger.
The mysterious blue badger was in fact this!
Well, that's... what exactly is that?
I believe it's some sort of a jar.
But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger.
Indeed it doesn't, as it stands now. It's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint?
Our viewpoint?
I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this. This isn't right. I've got to make it look more like a badger. Allow me to remind the defense its case hangs on the witness's drawing. If Mr. Wright can match the shape the witness drew, we cannot accept his claim. I've got to find just the right angle. Maybe I should rotate it vertically a bit more, or horizontally?
Come on, Mr. Wright, you can do it.
I've got to show them the shape. What the fuck? No to co? Jak ja to mam obrócić? Dobra, już to przerabialiśmy. Okej. Dobra, będę próbował, aż trafię. To, że moja prawa gałka automatycznie obraca ten przedmiot, też nie pomaga. Przydałby się przycisk znajdź środek? No dokładnie. Okej. Dobra, muszę znaleźć na internecie w takim razie w jaki sposób mam to odwrócić, no bo nie będę tutaj, nie spędzę tutaj 45 minut szukając w jaki sposób ma być to ukazane, bo już wiem, że o co chodzi. Ech. A, o to chodziło, okej. No to bym kombinował tu długo, muszę powiedzieć. Bo ja myślałem, że chodzi o tą rączkę, a tu chodzi o to. Okej. Coś takiego. No. Well, is this a miracle of what? No one can possibly deny this jar resemblance to the blue badger. No, it can't be!
Order. The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this.
Although we all enjoy Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Wright. Or Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed? Very well then, please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw the jar? Okej, ale ten odcinek już ma ponad godzinę, więc dokończymy go w następnym odcinku. Dzięki za uwagę i widzimy się następnym razem. Ciao!